Good morning. How is everyone today?
We're great.
Not bad, huh? Okay, thank you, Ms. Glenn. I appreciate you. I usually try to, be welcoming into the committee. Thank you for coming in today. General, you ready? The subcommittee will come to order. The chair may declare a recess at any time. And once again, good morning to everyone. This morning, the subcommittee is conducting oversight on one of the Veterans Benefits Administration's most critical offices supporting and overseeing the disability claims process, the Medical Disability Examination Office, or the MDEO. This is the office responsible for managing contractors who conduct medical disability exams for veterans nationwide. Those exams form the foundation of the medical evidence used by VBA to evaluate a veteran's claims for disability compensation. If an exam is wrong, incomplete, or inaccurate, or delayed, the veteran obviously may not receive the benefits they've earned for their service. That's what we are going to focus on today: accuracy, accountability, and a positive outcome for our brothers and sisters. When a veteran files a claim for disability compensation, Veterans Affairs is responsible for helping the veteran prove their eligibility for benefits. And for years, VA has relied heavily on its own clinicians at VA medical centers to perform these exams. As demand has increased, VA turned to vendors to help handle the workload to ensure quicker process rates and shorter wait times. Today, more than 90% of all exams are done outside the VA through contractors. Sourced out of four major contractors, these multi-year contracts cover more than 9 million exams and a multi-year budget ceiling of $13 billion. A contracted medical examiner uses a disability benefits questionnaire, or DBQ, to document the veteran's symptoms and medical findings. MDEO, the VA office responsible for exam oversight, ensures DBQs meet quality standards, that vendors are held accountable, and that the taxpayers' investment is delivering for our veterans. According to a recent report from the Government Accountability Office, that might not have happened over the past couple of years. The Accountability Office found that MDEO wrongly awarded millions of dollars in financial incentives in 2024 to vendors who did not meet performance standards. Production, customer satisfaction, exam quality, timeliness in scheduling, and timeliness in completion as well. When vendors meet or exceed these metrics, they can earn a bonus or face financial penalties if they fall short. The Accountability Office found that MDEO used a manual process to calculate these incentives, which had no standardized checks or formal written procedure to verify the accuracy of payments. Apparently, MDEO miscalculated performance scores and overpaid vendors, again, by millions of dollars. The office charged with maintaining quality assurance and disability claims for veterans did not consistently apply the standards that are necessary. Accountability Office recommended MDEO develop written procedures and automated verification tools. MDEO says they've started doing that, which is obviously a great step forward. The Accountability Office also found that MDEO has fallen short in meeting its own schedule for special focus reviews, known as SFRs. These reviews are supposed to happen every 2 years for complex claims such as traumatic brain injury, military sexual trauma, and Gulf War illness. These are the cases most prone to error, where exam quality can make or break a veteran's claims. 2 are overdue, and the third one, a start date has not been provided, from what I understand. Let me be perfectly clear: if there's one area where you can't cut corners, it's in the cases revolving around post-traumatic stress disorder, and traumatic brain injury. Without these reviews, MDEO has no way to know if its previous corrective actions are working or if the exam quality is improving. Without understanding if exam quality is improving, it also means MDEO cannot update examiner training or identify and correct DBQ errors. The same errors keep happening, leaving some veterans with delays or incorrect decisions. This is a systematic failure. The Accountability Office also identified new areas for improvement, suggesting that MDEO gather more feedback from the field. Contracted examiners told the Accountability Office they often have no direct line of communication with the VA. Instead, they are told to send the feedback through their vendors. This sounds harmless, but make no mistake, it is not. One examiner told the Accountability Office that different vendors have conflicting instructions on how to fill out the DBQ. Therefore, depending on which contractor a veteran is scheduled with, their exam might be completely different, even though it's for the same condition. That kind of disconnect undermines the trust in the system. MDEO is the office responsible for ensuring exam consistency. And to their credit, MDEO says they are developing a direct feedback line so examiners can raise issues directly to the office. A pattern of manual errors, misreviews, and broken communications are being fixed. This issue points out a broader issue with MDEO. Of course, there is always more to do. We need a proactive, not a reactive VA. And with that, I will yield to the ranking member.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all for being here today. We often say, and I think it's true, there's no wrong door into the VA. Whenever, wherever, and however a veteran comes into the VA, they are all welcome there. And we know that their health and financial well-being will be better for it. However, it's also true that for most veterans, the entry point into the VA benefits is the compensation and pension system. Applying for disability benefits and then receiving a disability rating and the VA healthcare that follows, that's the most common door that veterans walk through to get into the VA. And the key to that doorway for most veterans is the compensation and pension exam, or the C&P exam, which documents their medical conditions and provides the basis for a claims decision. So ensuring that this exam process operates in a way that best serves the veteran is crucial. To me, that means that the exam can be scheduled quickly and happens close to home, is conducted by a competent, qualified medical professional, and is completed thoroughly and accurately. And it is extremely important for VA, and specifically the Medical Disability Exam Office, or MDEO, to ensure all that happens correctly. Unfortunately, in too many instances, it seems that our current system of contracted exams fails a lot of veterans, and MDEO fails to oversee it properly. You can just come to my office and take some of the calls, or go on social media and just look through and be flooded with stories of veterans having exams scheduled without their knowledge or in locations that are hugely inconvenient for the veteran and the family to get to. We hear tons of stories about veterans being sent to an exam that has nothing to do with their condition, or veterans sent to doctors who don't have the specialty training needed for their injury or illness, or a less than 10-minute mental health exam or orthopedic exams conducted via telehealth. The stories are endless. VA is supposed to be monitoring the conduct of these examiners and holding contract vendors accountable. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem as though this is happening as thoroughly as it should. In fact, MDEO seems to think that everything is running smoothly with these vendors, and that assessment just doesn't match up with what we're seeing out here in the real world. A recent Government Accountability Office report noted that $2.3 million in incentive pay was incorrectly given to contracted examiners. I don't know about you, but I find that alarming, especially as only $500,000 in penalties were imposed on contracted examiners who did not meet quality standards. To me, that seems low based on what we hear from our constituents. So today, I hope that you all can help us square that circle, because I look forward to hearing about the progress that the MDEO has made after the significant backlog experienced during the 2020 pandemic. And I look forward to an honest discussion about where MDEO is falling short and not living up to its mission to serve veterans, because that's what we do here. Our mission is to serve veterans, and on this committee, we come together to honor that promise we made to take care of the men and women who put on a uniform for us. So we want to continue to see a pattern, as we continue to see a pattern of challenges with oversight, quality, and assurance, and adequate control over these contracted exams, we want to get to the bottom of it. Since about 90% of disability exams are done outside the VA by for-profit, third-party contracted examiners, it's really about time we get a better handle on this program and put stronger rules and quality checks in place. A program this large and this hard to oversee is open to abuse, or even just mistakes that end up costing our veterans time and our taxpayers money. So as we continue to work on behalf of veterans, we must hold VA and those it contracts to conduct exams to a high standard. That is the work we embark on today. I really appreciate you all being here and look forward to hearing your remarks. Mr. Chair, I yield back to you.
Thank you, Mr. McGarvey. I'll introduce the witnesses. From the Government Accountability Office, we welcome Ms. Elizabeth Curda, Director of Education, Workforce, and Income Security. Good morning. Our lead witness from VA is Ms. Mary Glenn, Deputy Director of the Medical Disability Examination Office at the Veterans Benefits Administration. Good morning. And she is joined by Ms. Tara Flores, Director of Acquisitions Service at the Strategic Acquisitions Center within the Office of Acquisitions, Logistics, and Construction. Did you write that? That's impressive. Thank you for being here today. I ask that the witnesses please stand and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you, and let the record reflect that the witnesses have answered in the affirmative. You may be seated. Thank you. Ms. Curda, you're now recognized for 5 minutes to deliver your opening statement on behalf of the Government Accountability Office.
Good morning, Chairman Luttrell, Ranking Member McGarvey, and members of the subcommittee. I'm pleased to discuss GAO's work on VBA's oversight of the quality of contracted disability examinations. When veterans file claims for disability benefits, VBA claims processors may request medical exams for veterans before making decisions on their claims. These exams help determine whether disability benefits are warranted, and if so...
Ms. Curda, I apologize. Is your microphone on?
Can you hear me better now?
There you go. Thank you. Yeah, I apologize. Can you kind of lean into it?
Yeah. Do you want me to start again?
Nope.
Okay.
I could vaguely hear you. You're good to go. Thank you.
The responsibility for performing these exams has largely shifted from VA medical centers to contractors, who provide the medical professionals called examiners. In 2024, they performed 93% of the exams at a cost of over $5 billion. Robust oversight of contractors is important for ensuring quality exams because errors can result in incorrect decisions, costly rework, and delays for the veteran. To oversee contracted exam performance, in 2016, VBA established the Medical Disability Exam Office. My testimony today discusses, first, VBA's processes for overseeing exam quality, and second, GAO's 5 recommendations for improving these processes. Since 2016, VBA has refined its processes for overseeing contracted exams and implemented numerous GAO and VA Inspector General recommendations along the way. VBA oversees exam quality using a variety of techniques that fall into 3 categories. Prevention. These techniques aim to prevent errors or low-quality work from occurring during exams. These include things like training and guidance. Second, detection. These techniques aim to identify exam errors that do occur. These are things like using checklists to review completed exam paperwork for errors. And third, correction. These techniques respond to exam errors, things like contractor quality action plans and imposing financial incentives for performance. While VBA has put in place these oversight processes, our recent work has identified opportunities to strengthen them. Specifically, in our 2024 and 2025 reports, we found, first, breakdowns in procedures for tackling the most frequent or complex problems with contracted exams. Second, incorrect financial incentive payments to contractors. And third, a gap in obtaining firsthand perspectives from examiners, a key stakeholder group. To address these issues, GAO made 5 recommendations. VA agreed in principle with each recommendation and has described plans to address them. As of today, VA has made some progress, but none of the 5 have been fully implemented. VA needs to fully address these recommendations to improve exam quality. Let's look at each of these recommendations now. 2 of our 5 recommendations focus on VBA's efforts to correct the most frequent exam errors and address the most complex problems, such as claims dealing with military sexual trauma and traumatic brain injury. For example, we found VBA's oversight of contractors' planned corrective actions lacked procedures to follow up to determine whether they were implemented and effective. Effectively addressing root causes is critical for correcting the identified problems and preventing future reoccurrences, all while fostering a culture of a continuous improvement. 2 other recommendations deal with VBA's efforts to hold contractors accountable by assigning financial incentives to contractors based on their performance, which includes exam quality. We found that VBA did not have written procedures for checking the accuracy of its calculations for these incentives, resulting in some mistakes. For instance, VBA overpaid almost $2.3 million in financial incentives in the first quarter of fiscal year 2024. Our fifth recommendation focuses on collecting and addressing feedback directly from examiners who perform these exams and who provide a key perspective on exam quality issues. We found that VBA did not collect feedback directly from examiners. 5 of the 6 examiners we randomly selected and interviewed said that they would like the opportunity to provide feedback directly to VBA, and all 6 said unaddressed concerns about quality made it harder to provide high-quality exams. In summary, fully implementing our 5 recommendations would help VBA improve exam quality, particularly by identifying and correcting the most frequent errors and tackling the most complex issues. Ultimately, improving the contracted exam process would support accurate decisions on claims and help veterans receive benefits they are entitled to without delays. This concludes my prepared statement, and I am happy to address your questions.
The written statement of Ms. Curda will be entered into the record. Ms. Glenn, you're now recognized for 5 minutes to deliver your opening statement on behalf of the Department of Veterans Affairs.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, Chairman Luttrell, Ranking Member McGarvey, and distinguished members of the subcommittee. Thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today to discuss disability examinations administered by the Department of Veterans Affairs. I'm joined today by Tara Flores, Director of Acquisition Service, Strategic Acquisitions Center. Over the last several years, VBA has made concerted efforts to improve the contract exam experience for our veterans while simultaneously improving output and accuracy. During this same period, several landmark pieces of legislation, such as the PACT Act, were signed into law. These pieces of legislation led to unprecedented increases in the number of exams requested for veterans. Due to the unexpected increase in volume, VBA took actions to address these challenges, such as adjusting projections and contractual obligations. This included collaborating with the GAO, internal partners, Congress, veteran organizations, and others to identify problems and generate solutions. In FY 2025, VBA completed over 3.3 million examination scheduling requests. This resulted in over 4 million appointments and nearly 9 million disability benefits questionnaires, or DBQs. During the fiscal year, the average time to complete exams was 26.4 days, a marked improvement from the 35.7 days in the prior fiscal year. Further, VBA's overall veteran satisfaction score remained high among those who completed the after-visit survey. While we are proud of these accomplishments, we recognize there is always room for improvement. Therefore, VBA continues to enhance our internal controls, grow our network of clinicians, and explore opportunities to leverage new and existing technologies. Recently, Congress extended the license portability provision of the Isaacson-Roe Act, which allows contract examiners to provide services in any state or U.S. territory without having to obtain multiple licenses. This flexibility has allowed VBA to extend service to rural veterans, Native American communities, and support claims clinics throughout the country. We want to extend our sincere thanks to the committee and Congress for passing this provision. This provision is critical to the success of our ability to perform examinations closer to where the veteran lives. VBA is most excited about the opportunity to modernize the disability exam process by evaluating advanced tools and technologies and reducing administrative burdens. A key area of focus is to enhance our processes so that we can make more decisions based on the information we already have. VA is looking to leverage new technology to accomplish this. This would enhance veterans' experience by reducing the potential need to attend examinations. Another area of interest is to increase the use of private provider DBQs that are completed by local examiners. This could help reduce the need to travel to an examination, thereby improving veteran experience. Collaboration across the entire enterprise and with our stakeholders is essential to ensuring an efficient veteran-focused service. While VBA continues to innovate and improve veteran experience, we must also realize that there are additional improvements to be made. We continue to partner with GAO to identify issues and challenges and provide recommendations to improve our business processes. In August 2025, GAO issued a report on improving the quality of contract exams for veterans. I am pleased to report that MDEO has recouped the overpayments mentioned in the report, enhanced our methodology to prevent future errors, and implemented all recommendations. As a result, we will be requesting closure. Mr. Chairman and Ranking Member McGarvey, I want to express my appreciation for your continued support of veterans, their families, caregivers, and survivors. We remain dedicated to continually improving medical disability examinations, and we are grateful for the authority Congress has given us to obtain contract examinations for veterans and transitioning service members. This concludes my testimony. My colleagues and I are happy to respond to any questions you or the subcommittee may have.
Thank you, Ms. Glenn. The written statement will be entered into the hearing record. We'll now move to questioning. Ms. Curda, MDEO failed to improperly implement quality checks as far as incentive pays. When was the first GAO report asking VA to do that? What year?
We developed that finding in a report that was issued this year in September.
This year?
Yeah.
And from what I understand, Ms. Glenn, you told me that that's being taken care of, correct?
Yes, sir.
How far along were we, and how did we find that discrepancy, that payment? How did that show up? It went outbound. Who was looking at it and found it?
So actually, it was brought to our attention by GAO, but based on that, we went back and audited all of our incentive and disincentives that were paid since we changed the incentive and disincentive structure. The structure was changed in a modification in September 2021. So we went all the way back to FY22 and checked everything and found no other discrepancies.
Okay, so why didn't the vendor say something?
We determined.
Well, I mean, I got it. I probably wouldn't say anything either if you overpaid me $2 million, however.
Yes, we determine how much money the vendor will get or not get. The vendor does not tell us how much money they should get for incentives. We tell them, we have a quarterly report, a performance report with them every quarter, and we provide them with the information and the details of their performance. And at that point, we tell them how much they should get, either in incentive.
I asked you this question earlier. How much should they have gotten?
So it was that $2.3 million was over 2 different contracts. So it varied based on the contract, and I can get you the specifics after this.
Okay, that's got to be interesting to see how that happened. And as far as course correcting this, my question earlier was, is this one specific individual? Your response was no.
Yes, sir.
So I want you to walk the committee through that, please.
So the invoices come in from the vendors. They are immense, but beside the point. They are reviewed by the contracting officer representatives, who then pass it on to their lead for approval. And once that approval is done, the funding packages are sent forward through a portal, and they go to the Office of Financial Management, who controls the portal. They don't do a check on it, but then it goes straight to the Treasury.
So the way I understand it for our conversation is now there's a series of checks and balances internal to the VA.
Yes, sir. Previously,
that way this problem does not happen again. Now my question is, 2 contracts for $2.3 million, plus or minus, and incentive pay is for them to complete their job, which we pay them to do anyway. Is that bonus included in the initial contract, or is that something that the VA say, this is a great idea, we're going to give you this to keep going?
No, sir. The incentive and disincentive structure is built into the contract, if that's what you're asking me.
It is, but you told me, explain to me how that works, because you told me earlier that the VA creates that number that you pay the specific corporation. So if it was already in there.
It's based on their.
Hold on for a second. So if the number is inside the contract, they would know how much they're supposed to receive, correct?
The number in the contract is a percentage of their invoice. So,
which is laid out in I'm assuming phases. So they hit phase one and completed phase one. They would know the percentage of the incentive pay that's coming their way.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. And so when they got $1.5 million more than what that contract stated, you're telling me they didn't call you up and say, hey, you overpaid us $1.5 million?
No, sir, because there are changes to the invoice quite frequently. Some of the charges that they put on the invoice may be erroneous, and we make them go back and either correct them or...
Apparently, we missed that. If we paid them $2.3 million.
How did the vendor miss it?
No, we did. The proverbial we, the VA.
Oh, yes, sir. It was at that point in time a manual process being reviewed by, as I said, a couple of people. We have changed that now. We have an automated process that is put into place. We have a statement of operations that everybody will follow. It is a written statement. We have checks in place. We also have an audit contract now.
Okay, Ms. Glenn, I will come back to that question. Apologies, Ranking Member. Thank you. Continue.
We have an audit contract in place, and we're working with VA's data team to further refine our reports and provide us with an additional check on the invoices.
And we just created this recently, and we've been doing this for a very long time.
Yes, sir. That has been something
Remarkable.
that we've been trying to do.
Okay, thank you. Mr. McGarvey, sir, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Glenn, we'll just stick with you. How much money does MDEO pay contracted medical examiners annually?
Sir, we do not pay the examiners. We pay the vendors, and the examiners are subcontracted through the vendors.
How much do you pay the vendors?
It is dependent upon how many exams they complete for us. And it varies by region and by location. Rural areas will not cost as much as New York City, for example. It depends on the type of examination.
So what's the total?
The total for exams, let me get back to you on that, sir.
Okay. How many exams are they conducting per year?
Last year, we did 3.3 million exams.
3.3 million exams. And that's nationwide?
Yes,
And
nationwide and internationally.
Okay, and you're telling me that there can be different costs depending on where those services are, fine, but we do want to know how much you're paying total every year in this. Do you know roughly what the cost is per exam?
I do not off the top of my head,
Okay.
so let me take that back.
Do you know whether it would be cheaper or the same price or more expensive if those exams are done by VHA employees?
I do not have that information right now, sir, but I will say that every exam request that comes in hits against VHA first, and it only comes to the contract if VHA does not have the capacity to complete that examination close to the veteran's home.
Right. But you'll get us the information
Yes, sir.
about the difference in how much it costs. Okay, good. Program you're overseeing is really large, and we're getting that by some of the answers you don't have today. Do you have everything you need to properly oversee this program?
At this point, yes, sir. I mean, there's a lot of improvements that we want to make, as I pointed out in my opening statement. There's a lot of technology that we want to check out and see if it can help us improve our process. We thank you so much for the license portability extension. That is a major thing for us, and it really helps us be able to provide exams in rural areas and across the country.
So I asked you if you have everything you need. You said yes, and then you told me the things you want. I'm going to ask you again, do you have everything you need to properly oversee this program?
There's always room for improvement, sir.
Okay. Let us know what those are.
Okay.
Because we want to make sure that our veterans are being taken care of and that taxpayer money is being taken care of, and we can do both of those things at the same time. I understand that MDEO lost a lot of staff at the beginning of the year. Have you all replaced those employees?
We have enough staff right now to continue to do our primary mission. We did lose some people. Some were expected retirements. But we are still keeping on, and we continue to be able to provide examinations for veterans and keep track of those examinations.
That was a government answer. So you've lost employees. You say, I get it. We want to take care of our veterans. We want to give you the tools you need to take care of our veterans. What happened? What do you need?
So again, I would say that we are going to be able to do that. We're hopeful that a new organization chart will be coming out shortly, and we'll see what that looks like. But we have enough people right now to continue our primary mission.
Okay, we'll keep hitting on some of this stuff. We want to get to the bottom of it, not just have government speak here in this committee. There were a lot of cuts because of DOGE earlier this year, and there are a lot of contracts that were cut. MDEO had several significant contracts canceled, including one to conduct financial audits and invoice validations, and one to collect data from veterans and their experiences. Has the VA restored any of these contracts and or otherwise replaced the capacity to do so?
Yes, sir, we were able to restore the financial audit contract, so it is now in place. And we are working with the Veterans Experience Office, and they have helped us develop a new survey, which started going out to veterans the first week in September.
Okay. Ms. Curda, I'm going to ask you a question really quickly. I understand that you all were tracking those cancellations as well, and your August 2025 GAO 25-1078-43 report. The GAO said VA should do a better job making sure its contractor incentive payments are calculated correctly. Does that answer line up with what y'all are seeing, and do you feel that MDEO needs those services, whether contracted or in-house, to do proper oversight? And you have very little time, and I apologize.
Yes, I think those contracts are necessary. They factor into the incentive payments, which consists of quality, timeliness, and customer experience. And so if you're missing the people who validate the timeliness measures, if you're missing the customer experience measure, then you're not going to be able to calculate the performance incentive payment, or they may be incorrect. So I think they are important. And I want to point out the Veteran Experience Survey was recommended by the IG as to be done externally to the agency. And I don't know, I think maybe now it's being done internally.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. McGarvey. General, you're recognized for 5 minutes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me make a generic statement here first. Bureaucracies, good bureaucracies, are necessary and okay. We need that. Stovepipes, not so much. And what I'm hearing here seems to be some really solid effort within a bureaucracy to look at and manage stovepipes that detract from the value of the outcome. So in recent months, I've heard from veterans and VSOs in my district that critical medical evidence meant to support a veteran's claim is not consistently reaching compensation and pension examiners at the VA. When a Veterans Service representative flags certain files for an examiner, I've heard that these files reach the medical examiners enlarged, unorganized, dense, basically packets that show no level of help for that person who's going to look at them next. When that evidence doesn't reach the examiner or is not properly organized, exams are conducted without key facts. I think we'd all agree. DBQs could be completed inaccurately, leading to a denial by the VBA. So combined with GAO's findings on exam oversight gaps and delayed quality reviews, it's clear that there's some systemic breakdowns affecting those veterans' outcomes. So I'm trying to understand what causes the breakdown. I guess thinking as a pilot, we have to do things in certain orders, checklists, complete checklists to ensure that the flight is flown safely, and then after it's flown, we do a maintenance log to make sure that that plane is ready for the next crew. So along those lines, Ms. Curda, is VA's Medical Disability Examination Office responsible for overseeing the DBQs?
Yes, they are.
Okay, and based on your audit work at GAO, To what extent might missing evidence contribute to DBQ errors, inaccurate exams, or improper denials?
Yes, it would contribute to those things if that is occurring, yes.
Okay. Ms. Glenn, when a compensation and pension examiner is assigned a case, what information that may be submitted by a veteran or VSO are they able to see?
Yes, sir. If it's in the veteran's claim folder, everything is sent over to the examiner.
Okay, so then what quality controls are in place to verify that required evidence appears in the exam packet before the examiner conducts the evaluation? Have they got the whole maintenance log on this veteran?
Yes, sir. It is done automatically. As soon as a veteran is scheduled for an examination, it's an automatic push to the vendor. The entire file goes over.
The push is automatic. How is the vendor's evaluation of the data in front of verified that they had it all?
So to your point about marking things, the claims processors also review the file, and they do tab evidence that could be relevant, but it is the examiner's job to review the entire file. And we do check and make sure that the entire file goes over.
Is it a random check or a 100% check?
I could not tell you that, sir. I'll have to get back to you.
Okay, well, will, Ms. Glenn, will MDEO commit to reviewing the process and form in which medical examiners receive a veteran supporting documents? So basically standing there looking when that uniquely organized packet shows up?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, again, I see my time is about to run out. We know one thing for sure. Veterans never quit. We can't quit on the veterans, and we have to continue to refine the oversight and the detail of that oversight in an ever-changing world where we use the processes available to us now to be better at what we do on the veterans' behalf, because they're counting on us. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Thank you, General. Mr. Pappas, sir, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much to the chairman and ranking member for holding this session. Ms. Glenn, if I can start with you. We heard from Ms. Curda before about a recommendation around the non-collection of feedback from examiners who want to offer it to make sure that they're giving feedback to VA, that things are moving ahead for veterans as quickly as possible, and that processes are being improved. So you said that you implemented all recommendations. Can you speak to how you're collecting feedback from examiners and what value you think that's going to provide?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Yes, we have established a portal for the examiners to be able to come directly to MDEO and provide us with feedback. The portal was announced on the learning management system that we give to, that all the examiners have access to, as well as we had the vendors put out an announcement that the portal was live and ready to go. And we also sent emails to each of the examiners and told them individually that the portal was live and here was the link. So the portal was live by the end of September. I have a staff of people who are regularly reviewing the questions or answers. We've even gotten compliments coming through the portal. So we are looking at all of those as they come in. If there's anything that needs action, we are referring it to the proper place. So far it's been successful.
So you're not proactively soliciting that feedback by going to the examiners. It's sort of like a suggestion box where examiners can just submit on their own?
Well, we did send them an email and let them know that it was live, and we had the vendors tell them all in their chain, and we also, it is a flag across the top of the learning management system with the link that they can click on and give us the extra information.
Okay. Well, I'd be interested to see how that's working and if that's giving you some constructive information that you can then use to help improve processes. I want to ask about another thing that is a pain point for veterans. We hear about it all the time in our office, and that's scheduling. In September of this year, a Navy veteran from the town of Freedom, New Hampshire, who's 100% service-connected and battling cancer, contacted our office because she was in pain, needed medication, couldn't get her exam rescheduled. Days later, she contacted us again because another appointment was suddenly canceled because VA failed to send the medical records to the contract examiner. Her experience isn't unique. We hear routinely from veterans experiencing roadblocks and trying to secure or reschedule an appointment. And so contracting out the exams was supposed to speed things up, to get benefits to veterans faster, but this isn't what a lot of veterans who are reaching out are experiencing. So, Ms. Glenn, what options do veterans have when they're assigned an appointment at a time or location that they can't attend? And why is rescheduling so difficult when we know that veterans are going to bear the consequences if they can't make it?
Yes, sir, we realize that is a pain point, and we are working very hard and to try to make it a better place. We are looking at some automation, some technology that would allow us to see across the board all appointments that would be available to a veteran in a specific time and date, so that they could then choose the appointment that is most convenient to them. This is something that VHA is already using, and we are working very hard to plug into that piece of technology.
You mentioned location of exams too, and we hear about this from veterans. Driving 50 or 100 miles doesn't work for some veterans. The veteran I referenced earlier experiences hip issues, and long car rides bring her significant pain. So we should be making this process easier. I'm wondering if you can speak to the ways that VA monitors coverage gaps in terms of geographic areas, and how you evaluate those, and what steps VA can take to get these exams closer to home for veterans.
Yes, sir. So one of the things that we do, the contract allows 50 miles for a general med exam and 100 miles for a specialty exam. If the veteran has to travel beyond those limits, they have to have consent from the vendor to us that they are willing to travel those additional miles. We have done all kinds of things. We have the vendors have mobile units, medical mobile units that travel circuits throughout rural communities so that they can provide exams where the veterans live. I talked about the License Portability Act and how important that is to us. We are looking at every way possible to try to make this more convenient and less stressful for veterans.
Appreciate the feedback. My time's up, so I yield back.
Thanks, sir. Dr. Morrison, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you to our witnesses for being here today as we discuss the Medical Disability Exam Office and consider what its best practices should be moving forward. We know the PACT Act was a huge step forward in providing our veterans with the care and benefits that they've earned and deserve. We also know that it greatly increased the administrative burden on the VBA and MDEO, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about how VA has navigated these and other challenges over recent years. Ms. Glenn, in your testimony, you referenced that MDEO is evaluating advanced clinical and evidence review tools that have the potential to reduce in-person examinations, improve consistency, and accelerate outcomes for our veterans. Could you share more about what tools you're looking at and how you plan to streamline the claims process while also ensuring that every veteran continues to get a fair review of their claim?
So our intent is to reduce the number of in-person examinations that are needed. We want to be able to rate or make a decision for the veteran based on the evidence that they submit to us that's already of record. That is one of the things that we are looking at technology-wise on how to do that best. And we are actively pursuing and looking at different options and talking to the experts about the best way to move forward.
Okay, thank you. VSOs can play a critical role in helping transitioning veterans apply for and obtain their benefits. You know, as I was reading through VFW's statement for the record, their observation about multi-year MDEO contracting caught my eye. Their case was that moving from a 2-year contract cycle to a longer-term model could save money and improve outcomes for veterans by reducing contractor turnover and incentivizing contractor investment in improved technology and workforce development. I guess this is to all of you. Do you agree with VFW's assessment, and what are your impressions of the current contracting model versus a multi-year model?
So, yeah, yes, to a certain degree. Often there are technological changes that will require us to let a new contract, but traditionally, yes, and I will tell you, we are already working on what will be considered a multi-year contract.
Ms. Curda?
That was my understanding as well, that they are, and have started on a contract that I think goes for 10 years? Is that correct? That's still up for. Oh, still up for, okay, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Ms. Glenn, I want to close by asking you about an Inspector General report from September that found that 29 out of 100 VHA medical opinions reviewed were provided before the examiner had completed PACT Act training. What steps are being taken to ensure examiners complete their PACT Act training and that any erroneous claims are being reviewed and rectified?
Yes, ma'am, I can speak to VBA. I believe there were only 3 contract examiners who were found to have not completed their training. But to your point, we review all VBA contract examiners' training on a monthly basis. The vendors are required to provide us a list of all of their active examiners every month, and we run that against our learning management system to ensure that all of the examiners have completed their training before they start to complete exams.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you, Mr. Chair. I yield back.
Thank you, ma'am. How much, Ms. Glenn, how much money did the VA collect in penalties last year?
Sir, I do not have that information. We are still going through fourth quarter information, so as soon as we have completed that, I will let you know.
There's no, well, we found all the incentive pays, that we're not tracking that in parallel?
Well, the incentive payments for fourth quarter have not been awarded yet.
The 2.3 million that went, maybe, okay, let me back the year up then. The 2.3 million overpayments,
Was from 2020.
you would have found the penalties as well, correct?
Yes, sir.
How many were there?
For 2024?
Yes.
Okay, I will have to get back to you.
What is the did the 2 corporations, or the 2 companies, or the 2 vendors, excuse me, the 2 vendors that received the overpayment, were they ever hit with penalties?
Yes, sir.
They were? That magic number wouldn't happen to be the same amount as the overpayment, would it?
No, sir.
Are we certain?
I'm positive, almost positive it's not the exact same number, but I will be.
Plus or minus $5 maybe?
No, sir, I cannot say off the top of my head. I will be happy to get that for you and give it back to you.
Okay, I just want to make sure that the vendors aren't taking advantage of the situation.
Yes, sir,
I'm
understood.
sure you can appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
As far as examiners go and they respond to the portal, is the staff, your staff, responding directly to the examiners?
Oh, yes, sir. In some instances, we have, if the situation warrants. As I said, as I said, some of the things that we've gotten have been compliments. Some of it has been suggestions. Some of it, there's just a whole wide variety of things that
Are the
they're
examiners
to us about.
apprehensive about responding to the portal in fear of, I shouldn't say it that way, because of maybe retribution from the vendors?
The vendors do not get this feedback unless we give it to them, and
Well, they're going to have to eventually, because if the examiners are contacting the VA about a problem set, the vendors are going to eventually have to find out of it because they're the ones telling the examiners what to do.
But the examiners have the ability to come back to us through the portal anonymously if they choose to.
Sure.
There is a text box where they can type out whatever they feel like they need to say.
I got it. I'm kind of worst case scenario in this, which usually has a tendency of playing out around here. So if you go to a vendor and say, hey, we recognize there's a problem. Well, the first question the vendor's going to ask is like, well, how did you know about that?
Right. So we would tell them we got it through the exam portal, but
Well, you
I
can't
don't
say that because
believe-
then they're going to know who sent it.
Well, not necessarily, sir. They have thousands and thousands of examiners that work for them.
Okay. Probability, got it. Okay. Do you have anything for? I recognize you. Go ahead. Yes, sir.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that. I've got a few questions for you, but first, look, I'm just going to tell you how it feels up here a little bit today, because our mission is taking care of veterans. It feels a little bit like you all just want to write a check and say that these exams happened, and then not really figure out everything that's happening with them or how they're benefiting our veterans. We want to make sure that this is working and that it's working for our veterans, and that's the point of this hearing. That is what we want to see happen, and we need your all's help with that. Ms. Glenn, I'm going to go back to you with a couple of specific questions. The Paralyzed Veterans of America wrote in their statement for the record today that their concerns regarding accessibility of exam locations. In the wake of a 2024 OIG report on the matter, they cited that more than half of the 135 facilities they visited had accessibility barriers. This is obviously a problem when you were talking about screening for veterans with disabilities, not having accessibility at the places where they're going for the screening. So, what actions is the VA taking to ensure that they are providing adequate oversight to the contractors and the facilities that they occupy?
Yes, sir. Well, it's twofold. First of all, we require that the vendors examine each facility that they send veterans to. But secondly, we then go back and do site visits, surprise site visits to these facilities. In FY25, we were able to do 159 site visits. We plan on doing more in FY26. We have a plan in place, and we will hopefully be able to soon execute it.
Okay, but again, this is an OIG report. This is a statement in the record today that of the 135 they visited, half had accessibility issues.
Yes, sir.
And you're telling me that the vendors are certifying that these venues don't have accessibility issues. I mean, half, that's a pretty big statistical sample out of 135 locations.
Yes,
I'm not
sir.
saying that carries out across all locations, but then your answer kind of says we're doing these things, but half aren't. So how are you getting feedback directly from our veterans who use mobility aids? How are you actually finding out about this? And was this OIG report a surprise?
Yes, sir, I would say so. One of the things that we have done is we have required the vendors, when they contact the veteran, to make sure that they ask them, do they have any accessibility issues? And that they should not be sending a veteran with accessibility issues to a facility that cannot handle. We look at this, we take this very seriously, which is why we send in-house staff who have taken OSHA and ADA training to go out and look at these facilities and make sure that anything that is wrong, such as the fire escape map is not on the wall, is corrected immediately, if not.
We want that, but there still seem to be major problems. And you're mentioning like even a fire escape map on the wall, but we're hearing what I would consider to be horror stories about exams being conducted in inappropriate locations such as hotel rooms. Can you confirm that these types of practices have been stopped completely? And if not, why? And if they have, what is VA doing to find out about these and address them, and how did you do it?
So we have tightened up quite a lot on what our requirements are for the examination space. And I have not heard anything lately. I would welcome anything that any of you see along this issue to be brought to our attention so that we can take action. We do have a plan, we do have a way of investigating, and we want our veterans to feel safe and accommodated when they go to the exams.
This is a massive program, and we're hearing way too many stories of how it's not working for our veterans, and that we have a bunch of vendors out there who may or may not be getting you all the information you need, and there needs to be more oversight. Really quickly, VA conducts special focus reviews to try and reduce errors on exams for the most complex claims, including traumatic brain injury, military sexual trauma, Gulf War illness. Ms. Curda, you testified that VA plans to change the tempo of these reviews from a 2-year to a 3-year schedule. Will the 3-year schedule allow the MDEO to meet its oversight goals?
Well, according to their own analysis, they would have preferred to keep this to a 2-year schedule. We were told due to staffing reductions, do that. So we were happy to see it change to a three-year schedule rather than no schedule or erratic schedule. I think on the con side, the purpose of these things is a continuous improvement. So if you wait another year to look to see if what happened in the first round of reviews is corrective actions that were identified, if you wait another year to see if they've been implemented and whether they are effective, you lose that opportunity to take course corrections and make changes. And so I think there is a downside to waiting another year. You miss opportunities, and it could result in inaccurate claims.
I have a hard time believing less is more in this case. I also want to say that you said part of this is about staffing issues, and it seems like as part of this hearing, you guys are telling me you don't have staffing issues. This is a problem. Our veterans need to find the front door to the VA, and this is often the way it happens. And we need to make it easier for them to walk in and get the care that we promised them. They put on the uniform. And we've seen what our veterans have done for us in the last 20, 25 years and what they have sacrificed for us. And in exchange for that, we made them a promise. It's not just a legal promise, it's a moral promise that we would take care of them. And it sounds like they are not living up to that with this program right now. We need to do better.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Self, you recognize for 5 minutes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to get at the errors and the payments. What is the max percentage of the contract that can be rewarded?
The max percentage is 3% of the invoice.
Of the invoice, okay. So on the two errors that resulted in overpayments, what was the total invoice amount of those two errors?
Sir, I do not have that information at hand.
Okay,
but
so
I will get back to you.
Okay, so I did the backwards math. So if you paid out $2.3 million and 3% of the invoiced amount, was it the full 3%?
I'm not sure, sir.
Okay, let's assume that it was full 3%. That means that the invoice amount for those two contracts was $76 million.
Yes, sir.
So we've got $76 million contracts that didn't have enough oversight. This is indeed a problem, and I can see. I think you've already addressed this about the time I left. How many people were reprimanded for the $2.3 million overpayment?
The people involved are no longer employed with VA, sir.
That's a pretty good reprimand. Have you changed vendors because of it?
No, sir.
What is the total, if these two contracts are $76 million that had errors that got rewarded for $2.3 million, what's the total contract on those two vendors? Is it two vendors or two mistakes in one vendor?
I'll have to get back to you on that. And I told Chairman Luttrell that I would get him the amount spent on examinations. Two contracts, for sure.
Two contracts. Might be one vendor, two contracts. Chairman, I yield back.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Curda, explain to me the TBI scheduling that you and the ranking member were speaking on from 2 to 3 years, please.
So this is part of MDEO's quality control process, is to feed to the contractors the most frequent errors in a given quarter. Actually, I'm sorry.
Specifically around traumatic brain injury.
Yeah. Those were the special focus reviews. This is reviews that they plan to do every 2 years. And what they do is they take a deep dive on the traumatic brain injury and to see what are the root causes of the errors in those types of exams, and then work on corrective actions with the vendors. So the idea being that then they would come back after 2 years and see, okay, what's happening with those errors. And
explain an error to me, please.
In the exam, so an examiner filling out the DBQ for traumatic brain injury would make errors, and these particular types of exams and these particular types of DPQs are more prone to error. And so it's getting at the root causes of those frequent errors and correcting
So let me ask you this. I have a background in neuroscience, so right now it's every 2 years. Advancements in neuroscience, it flexes its muscle every day. Matter of fact, when I went through grad school, everything that I learned in grad school is no longer correct. We have built off of that information. So we have the ability to identify traumatic brain injuries at the granular, more towards the granular level, okay? In depth, at scale. So if an individual walks in with, or submits a DBQ this year with neurological scans and assessments, cognitive assessments, and the examiner says you're good to go, he or she most likely will have to wait 2 years for, in 2 years, that scan may show something that is 100% debilitating. Is that how long we have to wait?
Are you asking me or Mr.?
I'm asking the panel this question. And if you don't understand what I'm asking you, I'll clarify it. But my concern is you're trying to kick it out to 3 years. Now, there's things that we can identify today that will kill somebody in 3 years that we didn't know about 2 years ago. And is it the MDEO's office request to kick it out to 3 years?
Yes, sir, but these special focus reviews do not prohibit us from, we do not have to wait for the special focus review if there are medical changes that are happening that are going to change the way we look at a veteran's disability. You know, our doctors, our examiners.
So the special focus review will be handled by an examiner, pushed back up to the vendor through the VA for the claim. And if the examiner doesn't find anything, sends it back to the vendor and back into the VA, and the claim is shot down.
Just to clarify, the special focus reviews are not about individual claims. It's about trends.
Trends.
So it's like looking across
Even better.
all of the exams that were done and what were the most frequent errors. So it's sort of like a continuous improvement process.
Do we have any idea if the special focus reviews that were conducted 4 years ago, have we noticed any change in those compared to veterans today that have a neurological disorder or a neurological disease or a traumatic brain injury?
Well, that is what we're saying is not happened because they haven't done the next round.
And we still think bumping it up for 3 years instead of 2 is a good idea? Ms. Glenn, you're in charge.
Yes, sir, we are doing what we can with our resources and.
No. You're walking around the question. You're actually dancing where Mr. McGarvey's hitting you on. Don't give me the political answer. I'm literally trying to save lives here.
Yes, sir, I will tell you that there are additional things that we use besides the special focus review. We do monthly.
Oh, you're walking around it again. I'm asking you about the 3 to 2 year. Matter of fact, I think you should bump it back to 6 months or a year when it comes to traumatic brain injury. That's my opinion only. But I want you to take a hard, can't ask you to do that. I disagree with 3 years.
Yes, sir, understood.
I appreciate Mr. Chairman's line of questioning, so I just want to ask this really simply, and I want a simple answer, because it's an important question. Just simple doesn't mean it's not important. Is it better or worse for our veterans to go from 2 years to 3 years?
I would say worse.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
You're recognized, sir, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to follow up on your trends comment because apparently 4 out of the 6 examiners that they examined said they no longer elevate challenges to their vendors because their vendors don't listen to them. How then do you establish trends if your examiners are not sending their feedback to the vendors? How do you develop trends? Is this a paperwork drill, or is this actual feedback from the field?
Well, I'll let Ms. Glenn answer, but I mean, our observation is they do have processes in place to identify errors within MDEO through their review processes and so forth. But it is a perspective that's missing, is the examiner perspective. They felt that they were not being listened to by their contractors. They were not always given good advice. They felt they knew more sometimes than the contractors' quality assurance staff knew, and that they would like to give that feedback to VA.
So then, once again, that's pretty damning testimony. Once again, how do you establish trends if you're not accepting feedback from your examiners?
So based on the GAO recommendation, we did develop a examiner portal, which is live as of the end of September, and we have been collecting feedback from the examiners. It is an open text box. They can type in whatever they feel like they want us to know.
So you've got 2 months of data. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Ranking members, you recognize, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate this. This is a really important hearing because we are spending billions of taxpayers' dollars every single year on this program, covering millions of exams for our veterans and paying out millions in incentives, nearly 20% of which were wrong. So right before this, I had a small business committee hearing this morning, and I'll put the small business hat on here. Can you imagine if you were running a small business, let's say a diner or something, and 20% of the meals you sent out from the kitchen were wrong? The business isn't going to last very long, or at very least, the cook's going to get fired. That is a massive problem to have 20% wrong, and we can't tolerate that level of inaccuracy when it comes to serving America's veterans and protecting our taxpayers. So, Chairman Luttrell, I look forward to continuing to working with you to do something, an upcoming roundtable or some sort of event. Maybe we can hear directly from the contracted companies. I think with these for-profit companies controlling 90% of the exams, we need to hear from them what controls they have in place and how they are fixing these problems, as well as hearing from you all. And Mr. Chairman, we have all heard concerns in this room, because this room we get together to help our veterans, about the need to sell veterans on the VA. And numerous veteran service organizations and veterans themselves have spoken to us about the challenges that veterans face with the C&P exams. So if we want to ensure that veterans have trust in the VA and are comfortable seeking it out for care, then we should start by ensuring that their very first interaction with the system is a welcoming and assuring one. I think about the veteran who's transitioning to civilian life, showing up to a compensation exam for military sexual trauma and walking into a hotel room for their exam. This might sound far-fetched, but it's happened. We are getting these stories. And yet, in that exact scenario, a military sexual trauma survivor walking into a hotel room for an exam, if the contracted provider gets the paperwork right and they get it in, they'll get their incentive pay. Is this the standard of care that our veterans should experience, or that we want to incentivize? I want to ask the contractor providers what controls they, not the VA reviewing numbers from the central office, but what controls they themselves have done to adequately ensure our veterans are safe, cared for, and being seen in an appropriate professional setting. I also want to make sure that our veterans are getting the reviews and care they need. When we hear today that reviews are moving from every 2 to 3 years, and that is, by your own testimony, worse for veterans, we have to do something about that. Let's bring in the heads of these companies. Let's get together. Let's make sure that our veterans, the men and women who were willing to sacrifice everything for our safety and security and freedom, receive the promise we gave them, that when they took that uniform off, we would take care of them. It's exactly what we want to do. It's exactly what we need to get done on this committee. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Ms. Glenn, your office has a very large responsibility. I'm sure you're kind of feeling that right now in this hearing. And I want to thank all three of you for what you do for our veterans. And I say this every committee hearing. You wake up every day, you go in and you do what you can for us. And we pay attention to myself, to that veteran sitting right there, to the other veterans that are on this committee and abroad. I have almost 40,000 veterans in my district, and I can assure you the most aggressive group in my district are my veterans, are my brothers and sisters, and they talk to us because they have every right to get what they've earned by putting on that uniform and fighting for this country. Every one of them. And there's always going to be mistakes. The human element and the human error, it exists. It does. Your office is responsible, and you, in charge, are responsible for oversight in your office. Ms. Curda has pointed out quite a few, and I know that you're working on it, and I appreciate that. We will never let that be enough, and it will never be perfect. But we will not stop fighting for perfection because of those that we are responsible for taking care of. Because they never asked anything of anyone when a round was going by their head or they were dragging their brother or sister out. They never did that. That's why we do what we do. And that oversight goes a long way. You will be back here in front of us. We will ask these questions again, and I expect it will not be the same answers. Ms. Curda will keep us read in. I hate to tell you this, but you are absolutely pinging hard on my radar because of every veteran that you touch. Don't ever forget that's what you're doing, okay? Staff included. I ask unanimous consent that all members have 5 legislative days to revise and extend their remarks and include extraneous material. Without objection, so orders. Hearing is adjourned.